Hi, I'm really glad that last P was people, because that was my question. It's about people. You've mentioned being human and that quality a number of times and how important that is within business. I'm just wondering, in that context, what your thoughts are on kind of Starbucks and retail as it's now moving to more self-service. If I take that, I'm from Ireland, I love going into Starbucks and having a bit of banter, a bit of crack with the guys behind the desk.
Yeah.
But now I'm able to pre-order on an app and just pick up and have no human interaction. I find that quite difficult. What do you think?
Well, everything's moving at such a fast clip. Technology is moving at warp speed. And it's always made us uncomfortable because we're a high-touch organization. But people come in and there's some people that, you got to remember what our job is to give people basically where they want to go. And so some people come in the morning, all of you are different, and it be different every morning. Some of you want to come in the morning, you want a hot cup of coffee, no conversation, you want in and you want out. Sometimes you come in and your child just got the full ride scholarship to Harvard and you're dying to tell somebody, and you want to tell the barista. And I used to say to our people, you're social workers, and you got less than 10 seconds to determine where that person is in front of you. Do they just want that cup of coffee hot, no conversation, because they just got a speeding ticket and they don't want to talk to anybody? Or they want to talk about their kid getting the full ride to Harvard? And you have to be in tune with that. You have to have antenna that go up into your head and are able to feel it right away. And so we're responding to what's going on in the marketplace. And when I first started, we didn't have any chairs in the stores. It wasn't a place where you could go sit and just have a cup of coffee or not have a cup of coffee, just talk to somebody. And we were listening to the people that were saying, I want a place to sit. We went screaming and yelling into that because our real estate people didn't want to pay for the extra space. And I was an operator. I said, well, that's what our people want. Let's just try it. And of course, it was the boon to the business, right? That's where people go. So I think what we are saying is a response to the marketplace. I hope that we never lose our humanity. And I don't think we will, because at the end of the day, that's what counts. And we should be able to do both, right? We should be able to do both. And we'll see how it all turns out. I am concerned about that. I'm particularly concerned about this whole focus on data. Right, and I always, I ask. So if your spouse comes home at night and says, "Honey, I'm unhappy," how much more data do you need? But yet organizations have forgotten how to listen. Right, they want to see it on a piece of paper with the Q&A and the yes or no's and this instead of going out and touching somebody, talking to that human being. I grew up, and I'm 72 years old, I grew up in the world of high touch. When I wanted data, I just went and talked to people. And when I talked to enough people, they gave me what I needed. And it's the best data, because you see the emotion behind it and you feel what it's about. So, we'll see what happens.
It's interesting. It's another kind of expression of lack of trust.
Yeah.
That we don't trust our own experience.
Yeah.
Of what's right in front of us, and we need complicated systems.
We have forgotten how to listen. I have this belief that the walls talk. All right, now this will even go past these people in this room, the mindfulness people. But here's what I want to challenge you to do. The next time you go to a friend's home and they offer to get you something to drink, don't follow them into the kitchen. Go sit down on a chair on a sofa and close your eyes and listen. So all you have to do is listen. And I guarantee you will tune in to what's going on in that household. You will feel the energy. A mentor of mine taught me this. I grew up in the home furnishings business, and I worked for this guy, and he said, Howard, after the store closes, I want you to lock the doors and turn off all the lights, and I want you to go sit in the middle of the store, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to listen to what's going on in this store. And it was amazing of what it did for me. It works. You know when there's problems and when there's not. One time I did that, and God, I said, gee, there's something wrong here, but I don't know what it was. The next morning I went into the store and asked all the people in the store, is something up here? And there was. They were having a problem with something that I said, but nobody would talk to me about it. And from then on, I did it. Once a week, I'd go in and I'd close the doors, I'd turn off the lights, and I would go sit there just to see what the walls were saying to me. And try it, it works. And if you do that with your people, listen, truly listen, not with your ears, not with your eyes, but with your whole self. It's amazing what you'll learn.
We tend to think we can think our way through problems. And you're saying that we can sense our way through problems.
We sense our way through problems. That's how we do things. We think it's the other way. It isn't. We actually do. We sense our way through them. And that's how things work.
That's really profound.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with a baby. You got a 5-month, that baby communicating with you real, you know, they can't say a word, right? Babies don't know how to talk. But what does a mother is so in tune with that child, can sense things, right, before the child does anything. You can feel it coming, right? Or it's there. And that's what, and fathers need to learn to do that. I think it's been one of the biggest struggles for fathers is to learn to do that. I learned to do it with my grandchildren. You know, I was too busy with my children. But I remember when my first grandchild was born, Sydney. She's now 15 years old. And I remember one night I was taking care of her. She was about a month old, and her parents were going to have a date night. And my wife had to do something else. So here I am, you know, with a grandfather with this little baby. I was scared to death, honest to God. You know, and she just wouldn't stop crying. And it was bedtime. And so I took her, and I remember somebody says, well, don't hold her like this. Hold her, have her belly on your arm, and like this. I was holding her like this. And I took my finger, and I put it in her mouth, you know. I washed my hands. Okay. And she started sucking on my finger. And it was the most incredible, I will never forget that experience as long as I live. I was in touch with that child. You know, I could just feel, she and I were one at that moment in time. And she immediately stopped crying, and I felt her body just go limp and went to sleep. And I just, like this, it was the most amazing experience. But I knew at that point what mothers feel.
Would you like to come babysit?
Huh?
Would you like to come babysit?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You sound pretty good.
It is. There's nothing better. Yes.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. I was just curious whether you, Jeremy mentioned that you don't believe there's anything called negative emotions, if I understood that correctly. But
that I don't believe what?
There's anything like negative emotions. I mean, everything, all the emotions you can use. Do you believe like all the emotions?
Yeah, they're just emotion, right?
Okay. Like for example, I was just wondering, like hatred, jealousy. Can you transform those from a business standpoint into something positive, or do you think that it kind of blurs your judgment?
Can I transform?
Like emotions like hatred, jealousy, those kind of emotions. Do you also use those from a business standpoint?
Look, it doesn't make any difference what people are feeling, because at any one time in an organization of 250 or 300,000, you have every feeling in the world going on all at the same time. The key is to acknowledge it. Okay, not to reject it, not to push back on it, but to bring it towards you and to allow people to see that you're bringing it towards you. But the first thing is to be aware of it, right? People come in the morning in the store, that old adage, leave your problems at home, that's bullshit. Excuse the expression. Nobody leaves their problems at home. Nobody, including yourselves. The big bosses least of all. But what do you get to do if you're a big boss? You get to go in, lock your door, right? Not let anybody in, or you get to take off and go have a cup of coffee. If you're a really big boss, you go play golf, right? But the key is when your people are coming in, be in tune with them. You know, if you're in tune with your people, you will feel what's going on. You may not know exactly what's causing it, but you got to ask the question: how are you doing today? How are you feeling? Right? They'll tell you. And you'll get the story. And the minute you do that, the minute they know that you care about them, what happens to all that emotion, the jealousy, the anger? It just because they know somebody is in tune with them and somebody cares about them. And it buzzes, it just takes it all away. What happens when you say, hey, I don't have time for you? Even if you don't say it in words, you just roll your eyes because they've come in with stuff and you say, don't bring that stuff to work. Leave that stuff at home. What happens? They drive it inside themselves and it gets worse. And then if you're in a business like Starbucks where you got to go serve people every day, what happens when they're serving people? Doesn't that exactly come out? You feel it. If you've come into Starbucks, I was in one this morning, and I had an unmindful experience where there was somebody at the front counter that was into self. I knew she did not have time for me at all. I could feel it, and it was not pleasant. I didn't say anything. I don't judge it because it's where they are. I've been in that organization so long, I understand. But you don't have. Why should you have to be there? You're the people we're serving. And she forgot why she was there. She forgot she was to help you to have a better day, to serve you. And so, somebody in that store, if there's somebody in that store that's leading that store, they should be in tune with that and help those people out of that. And maybe that person was having a problem. I don't know what her problems were. But it happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. Under the guise of professionalism, we pretend emotions don't exist.
No, they exist everywhere, all the time. They're going on all the time. Every meeting that you have, right, with another person, somebody's feeling something.
Steve, how are we on time? Okay. Yeah. Very good. One more question? The floor recognizes the good Mr. Boyce.
Howard, my daughter is a manager of a Starbucks store in Toronto and also trains other managers. And she grew up in a mindfulness household. And I've learned so much from her since she started working at Starbucks. It's been really great. You said that we fear performance measurement, but then you were saying we are too addicted to data. So how do those two square for you?
Well, data doesn't necessarily determine performance. It's part of it, but it's not what really drives performance. When I talk about performance, I'm talking about human performance, how we work with each other, how we do things together, those kinds of things that matter in a relationship. Right? When we talk about performance in a relationship, it's basically how am I feeling about our relationship? How am I feeling about where we are together as a family? How am I feeling about now? And we measure that. Organizations measure that. And it comes out in data, but it isn't. When I talk about data, I'm talking about over-reliance on numbers and not enough reliance on conversation and talk and where people are and feelings. So, there's measurement called what's it called? Engagement scores, right? Everybody knows about that. If you're in human resources in a large organization, you're probably measuring engagement. But all right, so you go out and you run this survey and you get back all this information, this data. So you have data. Now what? You have that data. Well, the data means somebody was feeling something somewhere. You've got to keep digging down to where it's at. All the data does is give you a picture of what's going on at a very high level. It doesn't tell you what the people are really feeling and why they're feeling it. And that's the job of leadership, is to dig down until you get to where they are. Because trying to do it across the board, right, it's trying to say, well, the organization all feel, we use these numbers, 60% of the organization feels that way. It's not true. Maybe there's one measurement that 60% feels. They all feel something different with that measurement, right?